Good morning, thank you. I'd like to provide the following update, and I'm going to be asking for the assistance of the media and the community in relation to this double homicide that took place last Friday evening in the LCBO parking lot at Ellesmere Road and Victoria Park Avenue in Scarborough. At 9:47 p.m., there were multiple 911 calls from citizens in relation to a shooting that took place in the LCBO parking lot just outside the main doors at Ellesmere Road and Victoria Park Avenue. Uniformed officers from 41 Division responded, and upon arrival found that there was two victims, a male and a female, that were suffering from numerous gunshot wounds. Both victims were taken to an area hospital for treatment. Both victims within the emergency department underwent emergency medical procedures that were proved to be unsuccessful. Both victims died from their injuries. Post-mortem examination on both victims indicated that they both died from multiple gunshot wounds. The deceased, Joseph Anzola, at 25 years, Cynthia Molaputa, 24 years, are the deceased in this case. Both Mr. Anzalona and the female passenger in the front seat entered the LCBO. They were both recorded on video within the LCBO making a purchase, and both following their purchase returned back into the parking lot and entered the SUV. The deceased entered behind the driver, and the female individual who survived the shooting entered the front seat next to the driver. It's alleged that at this point, as the vehicle was reversing, the offender approached the vehicle from the driver's side, stopped the door from closing, and fired into the rear seat, targeting the male deceased who was seated behind the driver. Both victims were struck with bullets. It's believed that the female deceased person was shot based on her proximity to the targeted male who was sitting behind the driver. I can indicate that Ms. Molaputa just met the two males who were in the vehicle on that particular evening. There were numerous witnesses in the LCBO parking lot. The suspect was seen shooting and was described to the police. A citizen photographed the suspect's car in the parking lot of the LCBO as it was leaving at a high rate of speed, southbound in the parking lot towards the Metro grocery store, and then west through the parking lot and out onto Victoria Park, where it was last seen southbound. Another citizen recorded the license plate of the suspect vehicle and repeated it to himself over and over again until he had an opportunity to record the license plate in his cell phone that he also provided to the police. The homicide squad are extremely grateful to all of the citizens that remained on scene and cooperated with this investigation. The suspect was seen by these citizens running back towards the car that was waiting for him. The engine was running, the lights were on, and the vehicle was waiting for the suspect to run back to the car. As the suspect was moving backwards, he was still firing at the deceased male who was in the back of the vehicle. The vehicle was described by citizens as a 2006 gray four-door Fusion. The reason for the press conferences today is to ask for the continued support of the community in relation to this investigation and the media in relation to the recovery of an important piece of physical evidence in this particular investigation, the suspect vehicle. The license plate of this car is BYYW755. It is, in fact, a 2006 Ford Fusion four-door gray. The registered owner of that vehicle is a Juliana Telveski, 24 years, of Toronto, and her photograph will be available. Ms. Telveski has a connection to the accused in this case, Harris Nnane. The homicide squad are seeking the media's participation in the community's effort to locate this car. If the community recognizes Ms. Telveski's picture in relation to where she lives or where she might park this particular vehicle, I encourage them to call the homicide squad directly at 416-808-7400, or they can call Crime Stoppers with regards to the information with regards to the whereabouts of the car. The homicide squad are not saying that the car is consistent with the 2006 Ford Fusion. We are saying this is the car that was used on that particular evening. The offender was firing at the two deceased people and ran to this car and got inside. It has huge, significant investigative value, and we would like to recover that car as quickly as possible. Harris Nnane was arrested on Sunday, the 1st of May, 2016, by the Gun and Gang Task Force. During the arrest, Mr. Nnane, the accused in this case, and another male occupant of the car that he was arrested in made efforts to evade apprehension. They were boxed in by the Gun and Gang Task Force, and they were apprehended, and both individuals within the car, including Mr. Nnane and another individual, were taken into custody. Mr. Nnane is charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder. I would also ask if there was anybody who did not remain on the scene of the LCBO who has information in relation to this particular investigation, if they could contact the police. We'd encourage them to come forward. And once again, I would like to thank the participation and cooperation of the public. And for this reason, and this reason alone, we were successful in making a quick arrest in relation to a very violent offender. I'll answer any of your questions if I can.
Just to clarify, this is the car, or it's that?
This is the type of car, so obviously we don't have the car, so I drew the photograph from the internet. This is a 2006 four-door gray Fusion. The plate, the information with regards to the registered owner and the registered owner photograph are the real thing. We've made investigative efforts, and I can indicate that Ms. Telveski now has a lawyer. She's provided him with certain instructions, and if you were to ask me, and I would say that, can I say for certain that Ms. Telveski was not present at the scene? I can't at this point say for certain that she was present at the scene. I don't have any information or any witnesses that have come forward would suggest that Ms. Telveski was elsewhere. She could have been elsewhere. I've made efforts through witnesses that would be able to establish her whereabouts elsewhere, and I have not been successful.
Just take us again through what happened in the car. Who was sitting where, and how were they hit?
Okay, there's a male driver who survived the shooting. There is a female passenger beside him who went into the store with the deceased person. The deceased person is seated behind the driver, and the female deceased person is seated behind the female passenger. So they're in the back, also in the back seat.
So nobody in the front was hit?
Nobody in the front was injured.
So they're targeting the guy in the back seat behind the driver?
We believe the offender was targeting the male, and as a result of the geography or the proximity that the female deceased was seated, she was struck numerous times as well.
Take us back, you said she just met that man that night?
That's right. So the young lady in the back seat, the deceased person, is a friend of the female passenger, and she had just met the 2 males that particular evening. They picked her up to attend a party, and within an hour or so of being picked up, she was deceased. Half a dozen. The type of scenario in which the shooting would take place would suggest some type of pre-existing animus. Anything further than that would be speculation.
So the people recording the license plate, photographing cars, is pretty key for you guys.
It's huge, and the photograph of the car in motion, leaving the scene, and then the witness during their individual interview indicating that other witnesses could hear the citizen repeating the license plate over and over again until he had an opportunity to record it into his phone. It was quite remarkable, and like I said, I'm very grateful.
Again, this is another area. It's fairly busy. That's a lot of shots being fired with a lot of innocent people around.
Correct, and we have video from within the LCBO. It's an amazing video. It shows the purchase being made. The store was busy. It was maybe 10 minutes before closing, so people were rushing to get to the store before it closed. It's high-end casino-grade recording that shows every interaction that goes on in the store.
Does it pick up anything?
What do we know about the gun?
What kind of caliber were we talking about? Semi-automatic?
It's semi-automatic pistol.
22?
I can't comment any further. It's a semi-automatic pistol.
Say any more about the two deceased victims? You don't know the police?
He's, the deceased is known to us. He does have a history with the police. His female partner, as I said to you, was a young woman who lived with her parents, has a regular job, and had just met them that evening and was invited to attend a house party. Total innocent victim. We detailed the police in the middle of the night to do every parent's worst nightmare, is to knock on a door and tell them that her daughter wasn't coming home. They indicated that they were concerned over the fact that she was late, and they were waiting up for her until the police came to the door.
So you have the actual video of the car taking off?
We have a still photograph of the car taking off, and of course we have numerous descriptions from citizens who remained on the scene to describe the car leaving and its direction, and then another citizen then recorded the plate in his mind and then recorded into a cell phone and provided us with the image that he recorded in his phone.
So this 24-year-old, that was her car?
That's her car.
Do you think she was driving at the time?
I can't say for certain if she was there or not there. I've made efforts to determine her whereabouts through her family initially, and so far I have been unsuccessful in determining her whereabouts definitively.
Does the fact that she's been in touch with a lawyer and the lawyer's been in touch with you guys and she hasn't actually come forward to police suggest anything nefarious or any concerns there with that? Not typical behavior for someone who's innocent.
I would agree. I said that to the lawyer maybe 2 hours ago, that innocent people traditionally don't need lawyers if they didn't do anything wrong.
So we don't know if she was the getaway driver.
I don't know for certain. I've been told by people that she wasn't, but the difficulty is that, you know, then come in, provide a video statement to the police under oath and indicate to me that she wasn't there and under what circumstances where she was, and I'll investigate it. But until I hear that, I'm not certain that she wasn't present.
So she's just disappeared, 24-year-old?
I haven't seen her yet. I don't know her whereabouts. I'm dealing with her family and a lawyer at this current time. Okay, thank you. Thanks.
Thank you. That concludes today's conference.